This is Twit.
The UK version of the NSA, which is called the GCHQ, collected pictures from the Yahoo webcam chats of millions of users all over the world, according to a story today in the Guardian newspaper. Codenamed Optic Nerve, one of the more boring code names, the capturing of pictures took place between 2008 and 2010 and involved many people not even suspected of crimes. Literally millions of people not suspected. The GCHQ says their program was legal. John Brodkin is a reporter for Ars Technica, and he joins us to explain this story. Welcome, John.
How you doing?
I'm doing great, other than this unsettling news. Of course, I'm not a Yahoo user, so that's not that unsettling to me personally. But
so do you use a service to send your nude pictures? Or
right, yeah, can I get a copy? Can they send me a copy? So how did
No, we have it tiered over here. There's certain services you use for nudity, like Skype, and then certain ones you use for maybe PG-13, like Yahoo, and then AIM is just the wild, wild west.
That's right. That's right. Excellent tips. This is also a how-to show and where to. So how did Optic Nerve work exactly? How do they collect these pictures?
I don't think we know the exact method of collection, but there's a program where I think they tap into the fiber optic cables coming out of Yahoo data centers. And the most important thing here is probably that Yahoo Messenger chats are not encrypted today. Now, Yahoo, because of all this NSA stuff, has said by the end of this quarter, they're going to have optional encryption for all of its services. Recently, they made encryption. They turned encryption on by default for mail, but with Messenger, it's not even an option yet.
Now, do you think that encryption is really going to be able to stop this kind of stuff? I mean, these spy agencies, especially with the NSA, which was involved in this, they may be able to break this kind of mass deployed encryption, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, if they really want something specific, they probably have ways of breaking encryption, but it raises the difficulty level a lot. Like Skype is encrypted. We haven't heard about nude pictures being stolen from Skype. There have been some stories a few months ago that some Skype information was leaked, like user IDs. It's not really clear if the government actually broke the encryption there. At the very least, it does make it a lot harder, and I think it makes it less likely that random people's information will be stolen, because to break encryption, you kind of need to be targeting a specific person usually.
And I have questions about their technical ability here. It says that they didn't have the technology to make sure that it wasn't saved, which I'm like, how do they not have, how can they get it, but then not have the technology to not save it? Doesn't that seem weird?
I'm not sure what that was. I think they were talking about they didn't have the technology not to distinguish between people who were targets and weren't, but they put in some safeguards, like analysts weren't supposed to
keep it or something like it's all very unclear what they could do and what they did do, and what they were actually even looking for, because the nudity is part of it that we all think is funny, but they weren't really looking for nudity, right?
Right. They're looking for specific targets, and then in some cases, people with similar names of those targets end up coming up in their searches of the database. And for a while, they were apparently testing out facial recognition software, which would, if they knew what the face of a person looked like, they could find it through the images in the webcam chats.
Now, Natalie said that the nudity part is, some people think it's funny. I'm one of those people. I think it's hilarious, especially from this report. There's always comedy in these revelations, but the document that that this is based on, which of course is part of the Edward Snowden trove that is the gift that keeps on giving, said that between 3% and 11% of the Yahoo webcam imagery harvested by GCHQ contains, quote, undesirable nudity. I think it's hilarious that that they're judging it. Essentially, they didn't say how much desirable nudity was in there. That figure was not put in the report.
And could there be such a thing? Like maybe you're webcamming with your doctor and you're like, what is this right here?
That's right.
That's desirable nudity, whereas
yeah,
anything in the prurient interest is not.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that they're editorializing about the content that they stole. But now you had mentioned that they were testing face recognition software. Now the NSA was involved in that part of it, weren't they?
I think so. What they were doing was they were taking their data and putting it into the NSA system, which is called XKeyscore, and that's a search tool. The facial recognition, I'm not sure if that probably was related to the same search tool, but I think they were concerned about the legalities of it, and they hadn't rolled that out en masse, but they were using it. And they were also talking about using things like the Kinect camera and the Xbox 360 and trying to figure out if they could use that as part of their data collection.
And does it seem plausible that Yahoo really didn't know about this? Because in the article, they seem to express outrage, I say, that this was happening.
I don't know if that's plausible or not, but I mean, the fact that they weren't encrypting just shows that it was a little bit careless. You know, they should have realized that it's possible if, someone could get into these things if they're not encrypted. Going back to the technical means that you were talking about earlier, I think what that was is they didn't have the technical means to distinguish between US and UK citizens and foreigners who are, supposedly there are fewer restrictions on what you can collect from foreigners and more restrictions on what you can collect from your own citizens.
Oh, I see.
I think one of the astonishing things in all this is the denial of illegality. I mean, how could it possibly be legal or okay for the GCHQ to harvest just random people from all over the world, internal UK people, US people, global people all over the world, then share that with the NSA. The NSA is getting information, pictures and so on of Americans because that's part of the trove, and they don't know who's American, who isn't American. They're passing it back and forth. And of course, the GCHQ claims that they have internal safeguards. They didn't really share the pictures with the agents or the employees of the GCHQ, only metadata. There's the metadata raising its ugly head again. And, it's these denials and this claim of legality just sounds strange. It can't possibly be legal for a spy agency in the UK to do something like that, it seems to me.
Well, I mean, in the US, we have a secret court, the FISA court or FISC court, and they've basically ruled that it is legal. They can, collect all this information and they can search it when they have a need to. I think Obama has promised some reforms, but I don't think we know exactly what the specific ones will be yet.
All right, John, well, thank you for explaining this story to us. It's a fascinating development, and of course, we'll be seeing this unfold over the coming weeks ahead. Thanks again for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
You can find John at arstechnica.com and also on Twitter at JBRODKIN, Jay Brodkin.